Okay, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'd like to invite our panelists to come on up. Anywhere you like. Brandon, you ready? Tim and Joe. You guys will be passing the baton. All right, Kristen, looks like you're over here. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Are we short a seat? Oh, God. We're one extra. Do we have another chair that we can pull up real quick? All right. It's on. Can you hear me? Okay. Try to project my voice. It's really more for the benefit of those online. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm happy to see such a large group and happy to see so many faces here. Welcome to the Dallas Social. And right, that's going to be annoying for all of us. Yeah, seriously. Can we look into that? You're getting like a delay. Anyway, while they're fixing that, you'll only have to listen to me twice for a few more seconds. Anyway, welcome to our office and welcome to our event. Again, we're hosting this event. We're focusing on veterans who've transitioned from military service into real estate investing. So we're happy to have this distinguished group with us, and we're going to let them introduce themselves one by one. Right now, though, what I'd like to do, we have a couple of our sponsors that are here with us. So why don't we come up one by one, just give us a quick introduction to yourselves, and then we'll move on to the panel. Do you want to, here, use the mic, if you would, please. Come here, center, so that they can see you live at home.
All right. Well, so we are Black Label Capital. We are a hard money lender based out of Plano, Texas. And we are veteran owned. Our owner founded our company in 2018 as a former Marine. He came back over from overseas, flipped about 30 houses, and decided that he liked flipping houses, but he liked financing more. So we got into the business from that side of things. So if you're interested in investing in houses or flipping or need a lender, you can speak with us. And also, we have a debt fund that we manage. So if you're looking to park some assets, and we can help you out with that. And we've paid out double-digit returns since 2019. We're right over there, and give us a shout, and we'll say hi.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Since you're here, why don't we hit you, John?
Yeah, John Burlett with Coastal Bend OZ Fund. Also have a second fund that we just launched in April called Core Tax Deeds. And I'm happy to be a sponsor. I've been affiliated with Quest for several years now. Love Quest. I'm surprised I don't see any little piggies around here anywhere.
We've got them. We'll find them for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, John Burlett with Coastal Bend Opportunity Zone Fund and Core Tax Deeds.
Great. Thank you. And we will get on the piggies right now. What? Yeah. All right. And our last sponsor who's here, we'll bring him up. ZT. Always good to have you here, Chihiro.
Thank you, Steve. My name is Chihiro with ZT Corporate. So we've been around since 1997. We're a boutique investment firm bringing corporate private equity deals to accredited investors. We invest in car dealerships and healthcare businesses, which are very strong cash flow businesses. So our preferred returns start at 12% per year, distributing either quarterly or monthly, and goes up to 15% depending on your investment tier. And we have active deals presently. So if you're interested in diversifying out of real estate without sacrificing any returns at all, give me a shout. Thank you. My name is Chihiro.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's hear it for the sponsors. We really appreciate you. All right. So with that, let me hand that back to you. Now, our next focus, we're going to, again, talk a little bit about the Wounded Warriors Project. We have a special guest who's here who is going to give us a little overview of what you guys do and kind of the services provided and why they are such a valuable resource to our veterans. So Ricky, do you want to come on up real quick? Do you have a mic? Give it that. That's advancing you right there. Yeah. So thanks.
How's everybody doing? Great. Good to see everybody. Glad to be a part of this. My name is Ricky Ball with the Wounded Warrior Project. I've been with Wounded Warrior Project for over 10 years. 22-year Army veteran, and I embrace the opportunity to get to help veterans every opportunity I get, because it is a challenge to be able to connect not only myself to the resources, but connect veterans who are sometimes in different challenging situations to the many different resources that are available to them. And so here in the Dallas area, I manage a team that's over 5 states, primarily all of North Texas, Fort Hood, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. And so that's my team. Here just in the city of Dallas alone, we have about 17 teammates across the country, and this is a field office. So this is one of the teams that actually doesn't have an office. We actually have 16 other locations to include Hawaii and Germany. And so we are all over the United States, and we're broken up into regions. So everywhere that there's not a physical office location, we actually have somebody serving in some capacity in those states. I work with the alumni team, it's also called the connection team. So the connection team is responsible for connecting veterans to all sources of resources. So not just Wounded Warrior Project. So even though we offer a host of different programs, over 16 different programs, all of which are free of charge. We don't charge veterans for anything that we do with them. No matter where we send them across the country, where we send them, everything is free of charge. We work with other nonprofits. Our goal is always to connect veterans to the best resources. So let's say there's a resource that we are just not, it's not something we do. We team up with those organizations to make sure that we can connect veterans to the right resources. So it's very important that we see this whole veteran space as an opportunity for all of us to support veterans in any capacity or any way we possibly can, and not just through Wounded Warrior Project. Because one of the things that we champion ourselves on is not necessarily being the space where veterans can get everything done. Our goal is to make sure that if it's not a resource that we have, we're going to connect that veteran to the right resource. And nine times out of 10, we're going to connect that veteran to a resource whereas there's no out-of-pocket expenses. We try and work with organizations who offer the similar type services that we offer. And again, like I said, some of those services might be outside of what we do. And so we've identified those organizations, and we work closely with the community leaders as well. So if that resource is a community resource, then we make sure we connect the veterans to that particular resource. And so, like I said, I'm with the connection team. What my team does, we host events all over the area. In all the 5 states that I just named, we do the fun stuff. The fun stuff is fishing, hunting, whatever veterans find themselves. We normally try and focus on things like skill building events, and I would say specifically things like fishing events. These are the types of activities that really connect veterans back to nature. So it gives them an opportunity to kind of get out of the house and be connected to a meaningful activity. So it's not just the fun stuff, but we do the fun stuff. As a matter of fact, getting ready to do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in the next week or so. So we connect veterans to any type of activity you can think of, and that's what my team does. We also connect them to all of our other programs. All of our other programs are are to me are the bread and butter of what we do. What I do is the fun stuff. So I'm delighted to do what I do for Wounded Warrior Project because it keeps me engaged and it keeps me connected to the veteran community. Physical health and wellness. As you know, most veterans face some type of ailment or some type of physical disability to some degree. What our physical health and wellness team does is give those veterans an opportunity to become physically active in their current state. So no matter what those injuries are, we design different programs around the many different disabilities that a veteran might face. And so our physical health and wellness program is designed to get those veterans out of the house and get them reconnected to the community with the idea of being with the idea of physical fitness. And then we've also partnered up with different gyms across the country, and then other resources that would allow veterans to become physically active. Our mental health and wellness, we have several different mental health and wellness programs. One of our biggest programs, we partner up with four hospitals across the country to deal with the PTSD at a much heightened state. So let's say we have partnered up with Rush in Atlanta, the four different hospitals, but primarily the purpose behind us connecting with those hospitals, it gives us the opportunity to connect veterans to a resource outside the VA. So just another option for veterans who feel like they have not been able to accomplish what they wanted with the VA. And so if they choose to go into an intense program, which is what's called our Warrior Care Network, what we do is we fly them out to which one of those four hospitals, and it's all based on the type of PTSD that they have. So if it's a sexual trauma, they'll go to a specific hospital. If they go to if it's war combat related, they'll go to a different, just based on the type of PTSD, just based on the trauma it is. And so that's what's called our Warrior Care Network. And like I said, we fly those veterans out free of charge. And then they get to participate in those programs, and then we have follow-up programs to go along with those programs. And one of those follow-up programs all based on their ability to stay connected, not just to that hospital, but to the folks that they attend those clinics with. So let's say they went to the Warrior Care Network, they have the opportunity to get connected to those same veterans at a later date through other programs, through other mental health resources. So that's primarily our mental health resource. Like I said, we have four different programs, and our Project Odysseys is basically a 4-day retreat. It's kind of a follow-up to the Warrior Care Network. What that does is get them 4 days where the veteran can go out by himself. Then we kind of highly encourage veterans to go by themselves first, and then do a follow-up with the family member. And now this year we started a new initiative where we have a Project Odyssey for the family. What that does is allow the entire family to kind of help the veteran identify the stresses in his life and things that can make his life difficult, and then just different coping mechanisms for the entire family. So that's our Project Odyssey. So definitely a way for the entire family to kind of help the veteran get steered in the right direction. So it's a really great program for veterans. Got a lot of success there. Our financial wellness, we connect veterans to all different types of financial resources. Basically, what we try to identify is not just within house, but around the country. Those resources of veterans that'll help veterans actually make better decisions with their, better financial decisions. And so it's critically important because it's one of the huge issues across the veteran space of veterans being able to manage their resources, limited resources, in a good way. So we have different programs to help them do that right now. We've partnered up with different banks across the country just to come out and give veterans classes, not just only in person, but online as well. Government relations, we played a big role in a lot of legislative actions just recently. Many of you have heard just recently with the burn pit. We played a role with the burn pit in just getting the government to identify veterans who was affected by burn pits. And so we've been big in the female veteran space and helping Congress better understand some of the issues female veterans face. And so those have been our top priorities over the last 10 years. And so we've been successful at helping shape legislation for veterans. Community relations, same here. Kind of what we do here is just kind of connected with our community partners, allowing us to build better relationships. And as we build these relationships across the community, our goal is to make sure that we identify those partners that can definitely help us identify better ways to better serve veterans. Last but not least is our resource center. So our resource center is a primary goal for connecting veterans to not just our resources, but resources outside of our network. And so here's their hours of operation. I'll be hanging around too for anybody that needs to connect with me, want to learn more about Wounded Warrior Project and what it is we do locally. I'll be happy to answer questions for you and make sure that I give you a card.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you so much for that. That's great information. We really appreciate it. And just a note, we are also going to be taking donations for anybody inclined tonight for Wounded Warriors. We have some QR codes that are around the room. So if you feel inclined, please, thank you. We would appreciate it, and thank you for your generosity. All right, now I want to get started with this panel that we have. I'm going to take them by their slides. So Tim, you're up first.
Hi.
Hi. Give us a quick introduction.
All right. First off, thank you for what you do. It means a lot to all of us. And anybody that donates tonight, just give me a list. I'll match it dollar for dollar up to $2,500.
All right.
So
great.
Y'all don't be cheap. Matt's got the next 2,500. Kidding. Tim Harridge. I've been investing for 20-something years. After I got out of the Corps, started as a project manager, started buying owner finance houses back in 2001. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. Started a big company with Blackstone, took it public. Most recently, I was executive director for a big company. My wife and I own a bunch of multifamily, commercial, single family, Airbnb, midterm rentals, kind of all that throughout Texas. My full-time job, if that's even possible, is we loan money to real estate investors nationwide, but primarily here in Dallas. If you have an IRA, we can now give you 75% leverage on a 30-year fixed rental loan, DSCR loan. But I mean, ultimately, I close in 2 days. We run comps, we look at pictures, and we fund the deal. I underwrite your deals if I'm gonna buy it myself. I'm not cheap, but I'm good and fast. It's 70 LTV, 2 points, 12% interest. And if you want lower rate, call someone else. If you want higher leverage, call someone else. You want to close tomorrow, call me. So that's
all right.
what I do.
Perfect. Let's see who. I think this is a little random. So Joe, you're up. All right. They didn't sit in order. I think clearly they lost some discipline here. So
You were missing the chair.
that's true. Okay. Fair enough.
So my name is Joe Boston, 10-year U.S. Air Force veteran. I enjoyed the military because that's what led me to be sitting in front of you today. Basically got into a skirmish with my commander, and he forced me as his captain to clean a house as I lost a bet to him playing racquetball. That's really what started my investing career, believe it or not. So I figured I could do it myself, and this is in dating myself, but this is in 1993, which is now known as the Space Force. It was U.S. Space Command, which just started at that time. And so I was selected to be, and I was in finance, right? So it transitioned very well to what we do now. So I was in comptroller. And so when that happened, I decided to buy 2 houses in an area known as Cocoa Beach, Florida. So I was pretty fortunate. I didn't see very many Marines around there, though. But, we did see Army and a lot of different people coming through. So my investment career started there. And once I left the military, shortly thereafter, I was able to sell those houses. And when I sold them, I actually made quite a bit of a profit, like 6 figures. Again, you say being hooked. And so once that happened, that transition here, and I was actually the finance manager for Ozarka Natural Spring Water, which moved me here. So I was over in North Texas and then started buying and developing. So started the Dallas Real Estate Investment Group. And shoot, Tim and I have gone back quite a while now. I mean, years now. Decades now. So
Right.
in 2009. And so we teach, train, and educate people on how to do real estate investing, from new construction to owner finance, which our meeting is going to be on the 18th, which we're going to be going through all of our tools. And a gentleman by the name of Scott Horn is going to be there as well. So we do that as well. But I develop, so I pretty much build 3 at a time, as well as a small multifamily. And I see who was saying there too. So I also have a real estate brokerage, which you were there, because Ray's a broker now. So I'm glad that I helped with that. But anyway, real estate has been a pivotal part of my life. And I thought I would be a career military person, but once we started to figure out how real estate worked, the transition went really well. And I would recommend that everybody learn from people that are up here that are doing real estate, to get involved and not be afraid of it.
Nice.
It really
Okay.
does help.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. All right. All right, Brandon, let's.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon Wong, and I'd like to give you a little bit of a pattern interrupt. So I want to share a couple of really bad jokes with you. So, what do you call an explosive monkey in the Marine Corps?
The lieutenant.
A baboon.
Oh.
What do you call an army of babies? An infantry. Come on, guys. Okay, I'll stick to real estate investing. Sorry, just want to give you a little pattern interrupt. But my journey in real estate investing started in the Marine Corps. I was in the infantry. I was in the middle of a sandstorm in Iraq, in Ramadi, and a buddy of mine gave me a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad to take with me. And I hadn't really read very much except for what I was forced to in high school. But that book really changed the trajectory of my life. It really opened my eyes. It was a matrix moment. So real quick, show of hands, who's read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad? Rich Dad Poor Dad. So it really just changed my life, and I had conviction after I read that book. I was like, when I get home, I get out of the military, I'm jumping right into real estate investing with both feet, and that's exactly what I did. When I got out, the first real estate transaction I purchased was a primary residence. I used my VA loan. And at the time, this was like 2010, there was this tax credit going on where they would pay you $5,000 to buy a house in the form of a tax credit. So I got paid to buy my first house. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like,
Save that.
We'll
get there.
Real estate investing is the way to go. And so I partnered with an Army buddy. I was in the Marines. He's in the Army. And I was like, hey, let's go do a real estate deal. So we bought a property at the foreclosure auction in Las Vegas. And we got clobbered on that first deal. We lost a bunch of money, but I didn't let that stop me. So I wised up a little bit, found a mentor, started investing in non-performing notes, which at the time were very prevalent in the market. After the mortgage meltdown, there was no shortage of distressed paper out there. Went on to do deals in 22 different states. I'm actually getting ready to sell one of the properties I had a note on from that era is actually about to sell later this month, which is pretty cool. And fast forward to 2017, I got started investing in multifamily. I invested as an LP to kind of test the waters, found a mentor in the space, graduated to being a general partner. I'm a general partner in 2 deals, about 283 units. And through the experience of raising capital for that first deal, I found a passion for the technology side of raising capital. So that's where I came up with the concept of Smart Syndicator, which is both a marketing platform and a mastermind for people whose goal is to raise capital to buy commercial real estate.
All right.
So that was my journey into real estate investing.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. All right, Christian.
All right, good evening. Good evening,
you're on.
everybody. Christian Catron, President and CEO of a company called Redeem Investments. We're a faith-driven real estate investment firm based out of Austin, Texas. I don't know how long we should go on here. This should be pretty
Yeah.
brief. I guess the thing I'll say is we run 2 funds, which I'll talk about later. One is focused on renewable energy projects, and then the other is commercial real estate. And we recently launched that fund in light of some major changes in demographics. One being the silver tsunami with the aging population. Obviously, you know what impact that has on multifamily and senior housing and things, but also has a tremendous impact on medical facilities and the lack of medical facilities that exist in order to care for those folks who are aging. And the other is called the hybrid workforce revolution. And so that is really what's leading to a lot of the vacant and underutilized office buildings. And so I'll explain here in a moment how we're combining those two into what we're doing now.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. All right. And we do have a fifth. Now, John, you gave an introduction to yourself real quick. So just talk a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't make
Just
it on the.
quickly, just give us a little brief, quick
Okay.
history of your military experience. And we already know about your
Right.
work.
Well, I was regular Army. I'm probably one of the youngest Vietnam veterans you'll ever meet because I was underage when I served in 75.
All right.
Real happy for my service. I have a service-connected disability, and I'm so thankful I've had care by the VA for all my adult life, and it's really been a blessing. So I was in finance and started a financial planning firm in Austin, 30 plus years, and sold a pretty big chunk of my business. And I've been focused on real estate throughout my adult life. But so happy to join you veterans and be part of this group tonight.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I think we have the basis for a great start. I feel like a lot of you have talked a little bit about kind of the transition and what motivated you. So let me ask you this question. And again, it's going to be kind of an open dialogue. I'm not necessarily addressing questions to any one of you, but that being the case, let's keep it brief and let's kind of bounce these around a little bit. Tell me, is there something about having been in the military that makes the transition into real estate investing a really good fit, would you say? And again, that, you know, Christian, for you, that's pretty unique because you're beyond just that. But, you know, what is it? Is it some of the risk tolerance? Is it some of the just things that you learn, the skills?
Yeah, so for me, I was in the Army, so went to West Point, commissioned as an officer, served as a field artillery officer. And what's interesting is after sort of looking back on my life and my career, if you guys ever watch, for example, Saving Private Ryan, those guys are getting on the radio and they're calling for support, right? And then all of a sudden you start seeing artillery rounds, you know, coming down in front of their position and all that. So when the round doesn't land exactly where you want it to go, you have to do something called adjust fire, right? And so that's when you say, hey, you add 5-0 or you basically provide guidance on where you want the rounds to land next. And then when it lands exactly where you want it, then you say fire for effect. So when I look at my own life, I think it's just been adjusting fire the entire time. And what I mean by that is I was born on a dirt floor in a third world country in the Philippines. My father was a Navy sailor, U.S. sailor, got connected with a local gal, and here I am 45 years later. I met my biological father for the first time at the age of 37. And so I've been pivoting and adjusting fire my entire life. How that relates to real estate is whether it's the multifamily space right now and some of the challenges thereof, high interest rates, high rising cost of operating a property, or as I mentioned earlier, office buildings that are vacant, underutilized. Those are different ways that you can sort of adjust, and that we're doing actually with my business. We're actually buying office buildings for 20 cents on the dollar and converting them into a higher and better use, like medical office, real estate, or hospitality, whatever it is that the local community needs. So the experience in the military, being able to adjust fire and move and pivot, certainly very helpful in terms of what we're doing now.
Great. Tim, you had something to add?
Yeah, I mean, just like Brandon, my gunny gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, like on our last deployment. And I read it, and I just never forget when we were in Kosovo, you know, as a sergeant, we made $1,810 a month. And then they took taxes out of that shit, right? Like, and if you were in combat though, they didn't take taxes out, and they gave you like an extra $100 or 150. I can't remember. Yeah, that's combat pay. Can't pay someone $150 to mow your lawn nowadays. But what happened was you start realizing pretty quickly once you read that book and open your mind, there's a lot of other ways to look at money as a reward versus money as a tool. And so it's what led me into investing. But honestly, what's kept me investing is like, this business is hard. But at the end of the day, like, no one's shooting at you. No one's getting blown up. A deal goes bad. You lose some money. So what? I mean, I've lost multiple six figures on multiple houses, and I don't care. Like, no one dies, you know? So I think it's perspective. It's appreciation. It's an extreme sense of accountability, owning your own decisions and owning your own outcomes. I think that has really prepared or helped me get to where I am today in the business.
Nice. Okay, great. Let me pivot real quick. Great answers on those, but Brandon, let me ask you, what were some of the unexpected challenges that you faced as you were transitioning out of the military and into this field, or, you know, just in general? Do you think that there are unexpected challenges that you did find?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is just like, even though you hire a mentor or you hire a guru, you take all the measures possible to mitigate risk. Ultimately, it's on your shoulders. You can't, if a deal goes south, you can't blame people. And when I lost money on a deal, it's happened a couple of times. I always had to take personal accountability for that, and it's a hard pill to swallow. But it's all too common to just start blaming people or blaming the market or blaming different things, interest rates changing, and ultimately you're the one taking the risk, and you should never delegate that blame to somebody else. Otherwise you miss on a valuable lesson.
Nice. Okay. Joe, you want to add something to that?
Sure. If all five of us were still serving right now, we're all bought in 100%. No matter what, doesn't matter which service. So what's different is whoever you're working with now, actually in our space, they're not 100%. They might not be 100%. And so you assume that when you transition out, right? Because with your rank or whoever you identify with, I know that when I approach someone that's in the military, we're going to work it out. We're going to be there. And so, in this space, they don't have to. They can back out. Just a lot of you probably been in closings or gone through any type of process, and it doesn't mean anything, right? So I think that's one of the things that really resonated with me, is not everybody's the same. Obviously, going through the experience of being an Air Force officer, I thought everyone was the same. Didn't everybody go to college? Didn't everybody work hard to get what they wanted? But that's not necessarily the case. It's a dog eat dog world out here, like Tim said. It's not easy, and so the military, though, actually teaches you that you can't quit either. You're not going to do that.
Nice. Good lesson. John, hit that.
Yeah,
Just
real
wrap it up
quick,
for us, because I think you're a different era, so I think you're going to have a different perspective on it. So
Definitely. What I took away from my service was discipline. Being a juvenile delinquent, it was totally what I needed, get on the right track. So discipline is served me well, what I learned in the Army.
awesome. Great. Christian, talk to us real quick. Military background, risk assessment. How does that work in your favor? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. Expand a little bit for us, though.
Yeah, I think whether it's a training exercise or going out in the sandbox or any kind of mission, you always have to assess what the risks are, right?
And how do you do that with real estate? Because it can be just as bad, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, you have to think about, okay, what are all the things that could go wrong, right? I know, for just case in point, I'll just tie it into a specific deal that we closed on recently. we closed on a 148 room hotel, and even though we know that the average daily rate is $150 per night, we're charging we're assuming we're opening up at $110 per night, right? So that's significant risk mitigation, knowing that, okay, if something adjusts, something happens. We also know that our construction financing is at 11.25, which is high, but that's market for construction right now. We know that we're going to refinance out of that at the end of that 3-year term. We don't know exactly what the rates are going to be. Hopefully it's at 8.25, maybe at 300 bips on $10 million. That's $300,000. That's a lot of savings, but we don't know what it's going to be. So we assume that 11.25 will be the entirety of the investment period, right? Just to be conservative. So that's just very small examples of how we mitigate risk and how we do our risk assessment. Obviously, interest rates are a big factor right now for any deal. Assumptions around revenue, assumptions around operating expenses. If you think your insurance costs are going to remain fixed during the entire period of time, you got another thing coming. Property taxes, forget about it. So anyway, these are all financial in nature that I'm talking about as far as risk assessment, but there's other things too. Slip and fall, insurance, hail, roof. I mean, there's a lot of different things that could go wrong. You just have to account for these things in your assessment.
Great. Joe, I want you to jump in on this. You run a meetup and that network you were talking about. Is there something with regard to your background that relates to this that you emphasize without necessarily telling them, but has it impacted you or influenced the way when you're working with these people in your group that relates to this point?
So being in finance, it's cross-functional. So I had to negotiate as a lieutenant with a lot of senior officers on why they couldn't spend their money. Okay. So I'm a kid, basically. And so telling someone that they can't operate maybe a certain process or fly a certain jet because their engines weren't going to be funded was really, really tough. Now that goes back to what I'm doing now is being able to sell. Right. So I think in finance, that's one of the things that you have to do really well, or you should be able to do really well, is actually articulate your position. And so that's resonated throughout, my entire career, is to be able to help people develop relationships and then also be able to explain why or why not it's good or it's bad. Right. And so I think all of us in this room, we got to realize that we are salespeople, at some form or fashion. And I think in the military, that's what you have to learn to survive a lot of times.
Yeah. Excellent. Brandon, I want you to kind of tee this one up for us. Resources and networks that you found that were most helpful when you were kind of making the move to the investor. And are these things that also can be available for even non-veterans?
Yes. So I started an organization called the Veteran Circles with the explicit intent to help veterans start and grow their businesses. And we do that through referrals, resources, exchanging information. And it's really been huge for any business venture that I've been a part of. Building out a network, especially one that you control yourself, is extremely important because your network is your net worth, super cliche. But in addition to building your own network, you also want to get onto other people's stages, tap into other networks. So that's pretty much the number one thing you can do to grow your real estate investment business, is to go to carefully selected networking events and taking the opportunity to speak when you can.
Great. Tim, anything you'd add?
So when I got out, there wasn't really the internet, so that's kind of like a little more difficult. Local real estate clubs, back then, everything was offline, so you actually had to go and put yourself out there. I got my first job in the space off militaryhire.com back in the day. But no, I mean, all the opportunity in my entire career has come from coming to things like this, going to RIAs. Back in the day, it was called Aereo. And I mean, it's just, you go out, you offer value, you lead with value. You make sure that you honor your integrity and your accountability. This business, just so those of you that haven't been in it like a long time, The circle of people that have been in it 5 years is small. 10 years, smaller. 15 years, minute. 20 years, almost non-existent. And your word and your reputation will determine your success. And I think the military in general, that teaches you the accountability, that teaches you the discipline, that teaches you to be a man of who you're supposed to be. I mean, it helped me know that probably before I understood it.
Nice. Great. John, I want to ask you, are there ways, and again, I want your perspective and then I want some of the younger guys' perspectives, but are there ways that you think the military can perhaps better assist the veteran community as they are making the transition out of the military, especially into investing in any, kind of ways that you can think of?
I think as far as my experience goes, I took advantage of the GI Bill, immediately went to a community college in Austin, ACC, and pursued a career in finance and insurance, and absolutely have no complaints. I hear a lot of veterans have issues with care across the country. I think I've been very fortunate. I've never had those kind of concerns, and certainly no healthier than the majority of the people in the room, but I've been able to get adequate care. And as far as the taking advantage of the benefits offered as veterans, and it's been a win-win for me. I'm happy. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, perfectly. Yeah, that's the perspective. Christian, what about you?
I'm chuckling inside. He's chuckling outside because I've got some mixed opinions on this whole thing. But
that's what I
think.
expect.
I think, man, I think about those what they used to call them, transition assistance programs, which doesn't do anything really. But if I could wave my magic wand, it would include financial literacy for enlisted soldiers and junior military officers. Some are lacking there too. And then secondly, almost specifically around utilizing your VA loan to house hack, right? Just go buy a fourplex, live in one, rent the others, and just learning how to do that just from the. Can you imagine if you knew how to do that from the very beginning?
I think last week they passed a bill to make a minimum wage of like $30,000 a year for junior enlisted. I mean, it's criminal to know that these young men and women were serving overseas, getting killed on our behalf, like for less than $30,000 a year. So thank God they did that. I think more, elevating the young men and women that serve. But really the entrepreneur community can hire a veteran, right? Because what veterans lack oftentimes when transitioning is purpose, right? They don't fit into a chain of command, into an organization anymore. And they wake up every morning wondering, what am I supposed to do and why do I matter? So, I mean, honestly, you're all sitting here. You clearly care a little bit about this. Hire a vet. Give them purpose. You'll find the most accountable, loyal, trustworthy soldier, to use a kind of play on word, even though I think you should hire a Marine, that you could want. I mean, I've hired so many vets. I look on military hire first for every position I post. Hire a vet. If you really want to grow your business and help, just hire a vet.
Let me ask you now for you guys, talk a little bit about the retirement programs that are offered through the military, your options there, and again, how they are utilized, how they can be utilized. Does anybody? Okay.
Well, there is if you serve so many years. Right.
Is that really all that there's? Yeah.
Well, they offer TSP, Thrift Savings
Right.
Plan,
That's what I thought that
current
was.
veterans. So that's a military alternative to a 401k.
Okay. What do you guys think are the best investment opportunities then that are kind of out there as you're transitioning, or, you know, that again, may be better suited for people who are coming out of active service?
So, in my opinion, it's really tough because the focus is to do the best you can for whatever mission it is that you're focused in. Tim hit the nail on the head. Is that who am I? Well, you identify with what service or rank that you are, right? So, if my goal when I'm in the military is to obtain the rank of colonel, right? Heck or high water. So you're going to school, you're doing all these things, right, to improve yourself, also to make sure that your mission is fulfilled and your people are fulfilled, right? So outside of that, when I was in, it was basically mutual funds, and then you're gonna stay in 20 years, and you're gonna have a retirement, which is passive income, by the way, everybody. So you can supersede that with what we're doing in this room, right? But that's kind of I never forget a month on active duty. We're sitting in front of this gentleman that really we can put our money into mutual funds as a junior military officer. That was it. If I would have, it's just funny that you're talking about house hacking. And I was in Tucson, which we had the A-10 Warthog. So for you Army guys, you should know what that A-10 is, right? And Army, that's right. That was us. But if someone would have sat down with me and just said, hey, I think you should start to invest in real estate, I can't imagine. Someone asked that. I can't imagine what it would look like today. And this was in the 90s. So really and truly, it's not outside of those walls, right? That's why I'm giving you that example. It wasn't explained then. And of course, there wasn't the internet either. So who was going to talk about real estate to you? Right.
Yeah. So that brings up an interesting question then. Are there some special incentives, special programs that the veteran community does have access to that maybe they're not aware of? Yeah, Brandon, let's get your take on it.
So Texas specifically has what's called a VLB loan. I would imagine Tim could probably explain that a little bit better. But essentially, you can buy a piece of land with very, very high leverage, which is just unheard of in like community banking or national banking, because it's considered high risk. But this program is funded by a state bond, and it's specifically designed for veterans. If they ever have foreclosure auctions, veterans get first dibs to bid on those properties. So if they're looking to invest in land or acquire land to build something, then it's a great way to get started. VA is obvious. If I could talk to my 23-year-old self, I'd say go get a fourplex, go live in one of the units, use your VA loan and pay it off over time, or pay it down and then just refinance and roll it into the next one. And then if you're incorporating, Texas passed a law that's free to set up an LLC. It's free to file a DBA, like all these things. Instead of sending a check, you send a certificate saying that, hey, I'm a verified veteran. So there's lots of great programs. I don't know if other states do that, but Texas really loves its veterans.
We've got two mics.
The absolute best veteran benefit is ID.me. And if you guys aren't using it, it's like 45% off Under Armour. I mean, like I get like 75% off at HP. I mean, I wear that thing out. Like ID.me, if you have a vet and actually even first responder or I think nurses and teachers too, if I remember correctly, it's just, it's amazing. I mean, I bought a laptop for my office the other day. I mean, it was like retail $1,200. I think I paid $375.
Wow.
Yeah. From HP Direct. It's there. But a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. LinkedIn Premium is free for veterans. It's like $480 a year. You can just use ID.me and log in.
Awesome. All right. So I think we're kind of getting to the end here. We've gotten some good information. We've batted around a couple of issues. So I want to just take it straight on down the line. Tim, you can start, or Brandon, you can start. But give us your best advice. Somebody who is getting ready maybe to transition out of the military, looking to begin a career as a real estate investor, investor at large, what advice would you give them?
You just got to start. And that goes for everyone. I mean, I've been in this now long enough to see things go full cycle 3 times. There are houses in Mesquite that I used to buy for 20 or 25,000 that, are now worth 400, 450. And there's this resistance in a younger crowd to say, well, they'll go back down. And the answer is they won't. It's just historically proven the compound appreciation is the strongest tool and time is the strongest force. And so I'd just say start. I mean, like if probably listen to this panel, I'd say use your VA loan and just buy real estate you can afford. And I mean, a fourplex sounds like a great idea, but if not, I mean, if that scares you, just buy a single family house and rent out the rooms to your buddies instead of letting them sleep on your couch. Like, cause I think we all had our friends after the Corps or whatever, like came and moved in with us. But yeah, I mean, so number one, buys real estate. And I mean, just number two, and I just have to say it because, the Wounded Warrior Project and, 22 vets a day kill themselves. So, I mean, just my advice to anyone that is transitioning is, you're not alone, right? Like there's a ton of us out here that would help anyone, anytime, just raise the flag and we're on our way.
I think about the 4 C's. And really these are virtues to sort of live by. First being that of character. The reason that's important is because if you start in this career and you want to grow to the point where you're now raising capital from amongst investors, your reputation and your integrity matter a lot. And that stems from what kind of character you have. Second is competency. So building up the necessary skill set to get good at what you're doing. So the 10,000 hours, what that's about. And then the last 2 I sort of mixed together, which I think is really needed in this market, given sort of market economic conditions, which is courage and creativity. It takes a lot of courage to do what we're trying to do, which is repositioning of office buildings. Nobody wants to fund those right now. I was just talking to a friend in the back about this. It's very challenging. And yet, if you have a solid business plan and you can engage with a lender that can look at your track record, can look at the things that you've done, and really your overall picture of who you are, and the validity of that plan, and then having the courage to execute that and the creativity. Sometimes it takes doing something different than what everyone else is doing in order to be successful.
Great.
Well, definitely the VA loan is a great tool. I bought my first VA home in 1978 in Round Rock, Texas. And I bought it for like $32,000 and sold it like 2 years later for $55,000. I thought, wow, some guy from California paid me this kind of money. And I was shocked. Today, the home's probably worth $250 easy, maybe $3. I don't know, Austin's so nuts. But more pertinent, if I have a grandson that'll be discharging this 4 years regular Army here in the next few months. And he's built up a little nest egg in his Thrift Savings Plan. And I tell everybody, get a Roth IRA and a self-directed Roth IRA. There's a 5-year clock that allows all that growth to come out tax-free as long as you're 59 and a half and you've had one established for 5 years. I'm kind of a pioneer in the self-directed Roth or self-directed IRA world. I started buying tax deed properties with my self-directed IRA in 1993. And it was unheard of. In fact, the first tax sale I went to was an attorney, just 2 of us at the sale. And he was a real estate attorney, and we bought everything at opening bid. And I parlayed that little $26,000 IRA to 6 figures. And then I started to do it with a Roth. Absolutely, the Roth is the best gift Congress has ever given us.
Nice they can do something right for a change every once in a while. All right, Joe.
So my advice would be to transition your energy into financial education. I think one of the things that we were shielded from because we're so focused on whatever your MOS or AFSE was that we weren't really taught to focus on that. And so I think as we grow up through this industry, most of the people that are on this panel are talking about finance. When you and I met, we weren't really talking about that much. We're talking about the properties and the clubs, but look at what people have graduated towards, right? So you start talking about finance more than ever, and I think that comes with evolving in this industry. And once you get really good at understanding that, houses are multifamily. That's our product, right? That's what we're selling. But really and truly, being good at the back office and the finance is really where you make it. So when you're good at that, then your product is whatever. I mean, your product could be cars. Your product is what we do is houses. Just so happens that's what we do, right? So I think one of the things I would hope, like you mentioned, is I wish when someone would have sat me down and said, every place you're stationed, you're going to buy a house. You're not going to be in an apartment with your buddies, right? Buy a house, and when you move or when you get transition or you POS, then you rent this out. Something as simple as that, right? Would have transitioned probably the way that I was thinking. So in my opinion, and that everyone in this room, it's really becoming very well versed at finance. Learn from everybody on this panel. That's what you got to get really good at. Then you can take the next step and figure out how to utilize the exit strategies or what product you want to actually acquire. So
Excellent. Nice.
My advice would be to find somebody who's doing what you would like to be doing and find a way to go to work for them. It's going to be the fastest way direct to the source. Do read books, do go to seminars, that sort of thing, but your fastest learning is going to be doing deals and partnering with people that are doing deals. So that'll fast track everything.
Excellent. All right. Well, this has been a lot of information in a pretty short period of time. How about it? How about a round of applause for them? All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm happy, that we can break now and people can ask questions of you. But I want to move on to the next section of what we're here to do. You guys can all head back to the bar and yeah. All right. So this is the part of the evening where we want to invite some people up who want to do a little deal pitching real quick. Would you care to kick us off?